So previously I talked about functions, and I have a couple different videos that were made at a little bit of different times because some people wanted a little bit more clarification. And after doing that, I talked about improving the little About Python program that I made with functions. And so here you can see my About Python program. I create this little tree here, right? And in this tree I talk about making like all these different things functions, and they can point to each other. And I talked about functions earlier, so I just sort of assumed that people would figure out how to go from one to the other. But you know, if you're kind of new at some of this stuff, that might be easier to say than for some people to actually do. And so I've been asked to give a little bit more support, a little bit more guidance in this, and that's absolutely fine. So I'm going to do that. Now, I don't have my original program here handy, and that's fine. So I'm going to kind of make it up. It's fine. It's really fine. So let's go ahead and open text edit. Here we go. And we'll call this about.py, and I'm not going to make the whole thing. I'm not. That would be silly, right? But we had like print, and we had like this like title, right? And we had print some sort of menu system, right? And then we had like different variables, like about pi, and that equaled a string about Python blah blah blah. And we had several of these. We had like about Guido, and that was its own string, and about strings, which was its own string, and I don't know, there was some other one about something else, whatever that was, right? And what it would do is after they ran the menu, it would have an input, right? They would get to choose what they wanted. So we had user choice, and that equaled input. Make a selection, and it was something like that. And I'm not sure if this is going to run or not. Let's go ahead and just run it before I get any further. So cd desktop Python 3 about.py. Cool, so no problem. So if I choose 3 became user choice and nothing happened because I didn't actually do anything with it. But if I say like if user choice is equal to 3, ooh, that should probably be the string of 3, then print answer, wait, sorry, just kidding, answer equals about strings, and yeah, so then print answer, right? And so this is essentially what we did. This was the program, and so cool, thank you. If I put 3, then it prints about strings, blah 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 blah. Of course, answer is only defined if I did this, because I didn't make a variable called answer as an empty string just in case something goes wrong, so that way the program doesn't break. So there we go. So now if I don't choose 3, it's still going to print. It's just going to print nothing. Perfect. Beautiful. It looks just like the other one did. So this is what I had done, and it worked. So I mean, that's good, right? But that doesn't mean it's a good program. This was a way of making this sort of thing work without using functions, without us knowing functions. That doesn't make it good. It was just effective, I suppose, based on what we knew. So if we want to fix this whole thing and make it better, we need to use functions. So instead of having print menu by itself, we want to do something like define menu. And defining menu is going to be to print the menu. And I probably want to have this stuff in here. Actually, I don't really want any of that. This is all junk, so I'll get rid of that. But I cut it because I want to use it later. I don't want to rewrite my strings. And this should all be inside of that menu, because when the menu pops up, I want them to have the option to choose something, right? So if 1, I want it to do something. Elif user choice is equal to 2. I want it to do something. Cool, thanks. And we'll just put that in there. And 3 and 4. So here's 3, here's 4. And maybe an else like print, I didn't understand your request, please try again, or something, right? So that's what we wanted to do, but we're not doing this anymore. We're not doing this answer thing. I just mentioned that. So what goes here? So in all of these, I need to actually call functions. So this is a function. I've made a define menu function. I have my title up here, and I could make that its own function, but I'm only going to do it once, so there's not really any point to making it a function. So I'm not going to worry about that. I'm not going to do this print answer thing anymore either. So I've got the menu, and I want, when they make a choice, it to actually call one of these. Instead of about Python being a variable that stores the string, about Python could be a function. So this could be def about py, and we would do that. So it has parentheses, and that makes me realize I forgot the parentheses here. So that's a good idea. And we tab it over, so that way it knows that this is inside of that function. And we want it to print this. So when they call 1, hopefully it would run this, and it would print that. And we want this to be def about Guido instead. So then this goes over, and this becomes a print command. There we go. And we can scroll down a little bit, and this becomes a function of about strings, right? And the parentheses, colon, tab this over, print, there we go. And this becomes def about something else, whatever else I had written in there that I don't remember right now. And this goes inside of there, and this prints that, right? So we have all of our functions, and perfect, that looks great. Oh, there's an error, let's fix that. Alright, so if we save this, and if we run it, we can see if it works. So, oh, Elif. Why are you angry about Elif? Is it because nothing's in here? What if we just do print 1? Does that make you happy? Ah, okay, it was angry because nothing was actually happening in these. So it's content, right? So title happened, and then nothing happened, right? Menu didn't get called, because we didn't call menu. We defined it, yes, we defined it, but we didn't actually call it, right? So we've defined all of these functions, and now it might be a good idea to call them. So if we say menu, and we save it, it should run menu. There we go, make a selection. So if I say 1, it prints 1. Now I don't actually want it to print 1, I want it to print this, right? I want this to be the first one. So instead of it saying print 1, this could call about pi. And so now if I save it, and I run it, and I press 1, now about Python, blah, 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 right? And so I can replace these print commands with the name of these functions, about Guido, and about strings, and about something else. Hopefully I didn't make any typos. And if we save this and we run it, it looks happy. What if we try 4? Very good, perfect. So this is now essentially working. It runs menu, and this does this, and I get to choose, and then it does whichever one of these my selection is. Now, if I want to actually go back to this menu, like I talked about in the previous video, I can do that too. So after it prints, I could tell it to run the menu function again, and now it's going to run the menu after it prints whatever. Now, I might want to put in some sort of like wait command, so that way they have time before it prints the menu again. Or maybe I want to just put in like a blank input. So like, inside of each one of these, I could have it say, press enter to return to menu. right? So now what it's going to do is it's going to print the string, the about string, and then it's going to print the instructions to press enter when they want to return to the menu, and then when they do, it's going to run the menu function. So let's make sure it actually works. So title, menu, make a selection. So if I say 3, about string, blah, 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 press enter to return to menu. Now I'm back at the menu, and it's asking me to make another selection. Now this is a little bit hard to read here because it's kind of, it's a little gross because I don't have any of my /ns in here because I've just sort of, thrown this together and I don't have all that other stuff, right? But that's okay. You're still hopefully getting the idea. Let's space this out a little bit more, and hopefully that will help make it look a little better, a little bit easier to read. And yours should look better because hopefully you worked on the previous version and you have a nicer one. So title, menu, make a selection. If I say 3, there we go, about string, blah, 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 press enter to return to menu. We have the menu, make a selection. This is a little bit cleaner now, right? Now, I did accidentally just press, well, I didn't accidentally. I did just press enter a moment ago with an empty input, and it said, please try again, and the system closed because it printed, but I didn't call the menu again. So I could tell it to call the menu in here again, and that would fix that as well. Make a selection, didn't understand, make a selection, etc. Now, of course, how do I exit? I can't actually exit based on what I've done, so I could say something like, in the menu, type exit to exit, and then it just says something like goodbye. And well, I can't get out of this because I didn't make a way to get out. But now that I've done this, if I save it, rerun this, there it is, make a selection. So if I give it a bad command, it doesn't know what to do, and it tells me to make another selection. I can press 3. Okay, it goes back to the menu. I want to exit. I type exit. There we go. So you can see how you can start to make sort of a little text-based program here. Now, mine looks atrocious right now, right? Because I didn't go back and use my pretty version because I don't have it with me. But hopefully you see how you could use these functions to make a much better version than what we had done before with the weird variable calling variables, replacing variables, doing some of that weird stuff. Hopefully that helps you understand function a little bit better, and one of the ways you can use functions, and how you can improve a program we previously made with these functions.